Hi everybody, welcome to Live Blogger. In this video we will start designing this discount banner using HTML, CSS and JavaScript. So here we can see we have this text over here on the left side, and then we have this countdown timer in the center, and then we have this button. So this is basically a link. You can add the link of any page over here, and then we have this close button. Now this countdown timer is completely responsive. So if I decrease the width of the browser window, this is how it will look on a tablet. So we can see that all this content is on the left side. And if I decrease the width of the browser window even more, this is how it will look on a smartphone. So it is completely responsive. And here we have this close button, and if I click on that, the banner disappears. And even if we refresh this page, it will not be displayed. So we are basically setting a cookie, and we will store it for 24 hours. So after 24 hours, the banner will again be displayed. So if I click over here and go to inspect, and if I go to application, here we can see inside cookies, we have this cookie called discount closed. And if I just delete this, and if I refresh this page, we can see that the banner is displayed once again. Now after this timer ends, the banner will disappear. Now we're going to design this using HTML and CSS in this video. And in the next video, I'll show you how to add JavaScript to add the functionality. So let's get started. Right here I have created this folder called discount countdown, and let's go ahead and create the necessary files. So let's click on new file, and let's create an HTML file. I'll just name it index.html. And let's also create a CSS file. I'll just name it style.css. And we'll also create a JavaScript file. I'll just name it main.js. Right, let's start with the index.html file. Now in VS Code you can just press exclamation and press tab, and you'll have this basic HTML5 code. And let's link our CSS file over here. So I'll just type link and press tab, and the href I'll just type style or CSS. And let's also link the JavaScript file. So I'll just type script :src and press tab, and here I'll just type main.js. Right, now let's start with the HTML of our design. So the first thing we will do is we'll create a container division, and let's give it a class of discount container. And in this we will have a division for the info. So here we can see on the left side we have the info. So let's create a division for that, and I'll just give it a class of info. Now in this we need to have the discount heading and this subheading. So let's create a division with the class of discount heading, and let's type massive sale. And let's create another division with the class of discount subheading, and here let's type up to 75% off. Right, the next thing we need to have is the countdown timer. So let's create a division for that, and let's give it a class of countdown timer. Now in this we need to have groups of elements. So we need to have this days value, and then we need to have this text days displayed over here. So let's create a division with the class of group, and in that we will have a division with the class of value, and for this we will add random value, and for this we'll also give it a class of days so that we can reference that in JavaScript. Alright, let's duplicate this, and for the next one let's give it a class of unit, and here I'll just type days. Right, now let's duplicate this, and let's paste it 3 more times. And for the second one, let's add a random value. I'll just type 0 for now. So I'll just add 0 for all these values. And here I'll just change the class name to hours, and here I'll just type hours. I'll just type HRS, and then we need to have minutes. So I'll just change this class to minutes, and here I'll just type min. And then we have seconds, and here I'll just type sec. So this is basically the timer. Now let's go ahead and create the button. So here we have this button. Now for this we'll create an anchor tag so that it is clickable. So here let's create an anchor tag, and let's give it a class of discount btn, and here I'll just type learn more, and here you can just add the link of your discount page. And then lastly we need to have the close icon. So let's create a division for that. Let's give it a class of close icon, and in this we will add the icon. So for the icon we will use heroicons.com, So here I'm in heroicons.com and let's search for close. And here we have the close icon. I'll just copy the SVG from here and let's paste it over here. And now let's open this in our browser and let's see how it looks. So I have this extension called Live Server installed in VS Code. So once you install that, you can just right click over here in the HTML and click on Open with Live Server. So now we can see that all the elements of our website are displayed over here. Now let's go ahead and style this using CSS. So let's go back to our HTML. And here we can see we have already linked our CSS file. Now the first thing we will do is we'll just decrease the width of this close icon so that we can see all these elements clearly. So for the close icon, we have this division with the class of close icon, and it is inside this container division, discount container. So let's go to our style.css file and let's type discount container close icon, or I'll just change this to close btn. So here let's type close btn. Let's change the width to 20 pixels. Right now we can see here we have the close icon. Right now let's style the container division, which is a discount container. So let's type discount container. Now the first thing we will do is we'll set the position to fixed so that it is always on the top of our website. So let's type position fixed, and we'll set the top position to 0 and the left position to 0. And here we can see this is how it looks. Now we need to have all these elements one next to the other. So for that, let's set the display to flex, and we'll also add a gap of 30 pixels. And now we can see this is how it looks. Let's also bring all of this to the center. So let's type justify content and center. Now we can see it is still not in the center. That's because we don't have the correct width. So if I just add a background color over here, we can see that this is the width of the element right now. So let's set the width of the element to 100%. Now we can see that it is exactly in the center. Right now let's go ahead and change the background color. So first of all, let's set the background color to a dark color. So I'll just type 023047. So this is going to be the default color. Now let's also add a radial gradient. So here we can see we have different colors over here on the left and on the right side. So for that, let's type background image and let's type radial gradient. And here for the values, let's type circle 610 pixels at 5.2%, 51%. And let's set the color to RGBA 58114 1, and let's type 0%. You can also delete this 1 from here and also this A from here. And let's type RGB 7353, and for this we will type 97%. Now let's go back, and here we can see we have different color on the left side, and on the right side we have a different color. Right now let's change the text color to white. So here let's type color white, and let's set the font family to Inter and sans serif. Now we need to get the link of this Inter font family from Google Fonts. So let's do that. Here I'm in fonts.google.com and let's search for Inter. And let's select this font, and we need to get the bold version and also the regular version. So let's scroll down and let's click on select regular 400, and let's scroll down and we'll also select one of these bold versions. I'll just select extra bold 800, and here we can see we have this link. I'll just copy this link from here and let's go back, and I'll just paste it over here in the head section of the HTML. Right now let's go back to our style.css file and let's add some padding. So I'll just type padding, and I'll just set it to 8 pixels top and bottom and 0 for left and right. So this is how it looks right now. Now let's style this heading. So for the heading we have this division with the class of discount heading. So let's type discount container discount heading, and for this let's set the font size to 18 pixels. And let's set the font weight to bold. And now let's style this subheading. So let's type discount container discount subheading, and for this let's set the font size to 16 pixels. And let's add some margin between these two elements. So here I'll just type margin bottom, and let's set it to 4 pixels. Right now let's style this countdown timer. So let's go back, and for that we have this division with the class of countdown timer. Now the first thing we will do is we will set all these groups one next to the other. So let's type discount container countdown timer, and let's set the display to flex, and we'll set a gap of 16 pixels. Right now let's style the groups so that all these elements are in the center vertically. So let's go back and let's tap countdown timer group. So here we have these elements with the class of group. So let's set the display to flex, and we'll set the flex direction to column and align items to the center, and let's set a gap of 6 pixels. Right now let's style the values. So for the values we have these divisions with class of value. So let's tap countdown timer value, and for the value I'll just set a background color of white, and let's set the color of the text to dark gray, and we'll set the font size to 20 pixels, and let's set the font weight to bold, and let's also add a padding. So just a padding, and let's set the padding to 8 pixels. Right now if we go back to the HTML file, and if I just change this to 1, here we can see that for this one we have less width, and for all the other ones we have a larger width because 1 doesn't take up too much space. So for that let's go back, and here we will just set a fixed width. So just have width, and let's set it to 24 pixels. Let's see how it looks, and I think that looks alright. Let's also set the text align to center. Right now let's set the border radius so that we can have rounded corners. So I'll just have border radius, and I'll just set it to 4 pixels, and that looks alright. Now let's style these units. So for the units we have class of unit. So let's tap countdown timer unit, and for this let's set the font size to 13 pixels, and I think that looks alright. Now here we can see that this content is at the top, it is not exactly in the center. So for that let's go back to the container division, and here let's type align items to the center. Now we can see it is exactly in the center. Right now let's style this learn more button. So for that we have an anchor tag with the class of discount btn. So let's tap discount container discount btn, and let's set the padding to 8 pixels top and bottom and 24 pixels left and right, and let's set a background color. So I'll just tap background, and I'll just set it to RGB 99 251 215. Right now for this button let's add linear gradient. So let's tap background image, and let's tap linear gradient, and here let's tap 68 degrees, and for the first color let's tap RGB 99 251 215, and here let's tap 0%, and then for the second color let's tap RGB 5 222 250, and let's set this to 100%, and now we can see we have this linear gradient. Right now let's set the font size. So I'll just tap font size, and let's set it to 14 pixels, and let's set the font weight to bold, and we'll set the color of the text to black. Let's also remove this underline. So let's tap text decoration none, and let's also add border radius. So just tap border radius 4 pixels, and we'll also make it uppercase. So I'll just tap text transform uppercase. Right now let's add a hover effect. So when we hover over this we can see that the button grows. So for that let's tap discount container discount btn hover, and here let's tap transform scale, and I'll just set it to 1.03, and we'll also have a smooth transition. So I'll just tap transition all 400 milliseconds ease, and now if you hover over this we can see that we have the hover effect for the button. Now the last thing we need to style is this close button. So for that let's go back, and for the close button we have this division with the class of close btn. So let's type discount container close btn, and for this I'll just tap position, and let's set it to fixed, And let's set the top position to 20 pixels and the right position to 20 pixels as well. And let's add a background color. So let's tap background and I'll just set it to RGBA 255, 255, 255, and for the opacity I'll just tap 0.1, and let's set a padding of 3 pixels, and we'll also have a border radius of 50% so that it has round shape. And right now the close icon is not exactly in the center of the container. So here if I just increase this opacity, here we can see that it is not exactly in the center. So for that you have to tap display of flex, and now we can see that it is exactly in the center. So let's change this back to 1. I think we can change the top position to 24 pixels. Right now let's add a hover effect. So let's type discount container close btn colon hover. Now for the hover, I'll just copy this background color from here and paste it over here. And when we hover over this, we'll just change the opacity to 0.3. Let's also set the cursor to pointer, and we'll set a transition of all 400 milliseconds each. And now we can see we have this hover effect. Alright, that's basically it with the design. Now let's go ahead and add the responsive versions. First of all, let's add a media query over here. And let's set the max width to 800 pixels. So whenever the screen width is less than 800 pixels, all these CSS will be added to our design. So here I'll just select the discount container. And when we have a smaller width, we need to have all these elements to the left of the screen. So here we can just type justify content, and if you scroll up, here we can see we have set it to center. So here we can simply type flex start. So now we can see it is on the left side. We'll also add a little bit of padding on the left side. So here let's type padding left, and I'll just set it to 30 pixels. So this is how it looks. Right now let's add another media query for the smartphone version. So I'll just type add media, and let's set the max width to 640 pixels. And let's tap discount container. And when we are on a smartphone version, we will have all these elements one below the other. So for that, let's type flex direction, and let's set it to column, and we'll also text align everything to the center. And let's remove the padding from the left. So I'll just type padding left 0, and here we have a lot of gap. So let's type gap, and I'll just set the gap to 16 pixels. So with that, our design is complete. We have also made it responsive. Now in the next video, we will add the functionality using JavaScript. Alright, so that's it for this video. If you have any doubts, you can ask in the comments below. And if you like this video, please click on the like button and subscribe to this channel to get the latest video updates. Thanks a lot for watching. Have a nice day.